Good. I
Look
always
at the
have that
recording.
weird delay every time. It's like we're now
Well,
in presenter mode.
it's talking to us.
Yeah.
Like the computers are talking back, and that scares me a
Yeah.
little bit, at least a little bit. I'm gonna make sure some other things are good here. So take
Okay,
it away, my
well,
friend.
ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you joining us today for our webinar. We're going to go over the picking a downline versus admin staff. If you're at that point in your agency's career or wanting to be, you're in the right spot. My name is Clayton Clemons. I am a regional sales team leader here at Senior Marketing Specialist, and this is my good buddy, coworker, best bud, all the things.
My name is Benjamin Laves. I am also a regional sales team lead here at Senior Marketing Specialist. We focus on slightly different regions, but we do it all together.
Yes. We always say we're the yin and yang, where we'll do things complete opposite ways and get to the same spot,
Yep.
which is what our goal here today is to get you guys to that next phase of your agency, or at least frame the conversation of what's next.
True.
It might be a wrong time of year for your hiring. You're like, hey, probably not this year, but that is something I want to do. So, like I said, you're in the right spot. We will love to have this conversation with agents every day. So we wanted to put on this webinar for you guys to kind of get inside of our brain where we're breaking down which path to pick.
Well, I think it's a great follow up. So, if you guys didn't join us last month,
Mhm.
roughly, we did AEP Battle Plan, which was going over and gave you guys some resources on what it would look like to make sure that you're prepared for quarter four, AEP, whatever is, however you want to name that crazy time of the year. So, part of what we talked about during that was in June and July, really are the last couple months that you can bring someone new to your agency in order to make sure that you've got enough staffing or a system and process in order to take care in the event that, say, 50% of your book of business needed to make a plan change. Now, that is a scary sense.
Yeah.
And I wish I could come on here and say that that wasn't going to
It's
happen.
never
But
gonna happen,
the
man.
truth of the
It might.
nature is it could. And I want that you guys to sit down and be prepared. So I want to take a quick moment before we start sharing slides or anything. Just if you guys are here and can throw in the chat message, just saying, hey, what is one thing that you are the most interested in, and if you're watching the recording here, feel free to throw it in the comments. We'll make sure that that gets reviewed and posted on YouTube as well. But we wanted to make sure that, what is the most important part that you are either getting tied up on, or the thing that you'd find the most beneficial about trying to add someone to your agency? Is it,
Yeah.
what do I pay them? How do I hire the right type of person? This webinar specifically is going to help you differentiate what type of person do I need to hire, but those systems and details and honestly the nuances of bringing someone into an agency that you guys have already built, a successful entity that you're already helping so many people with, you know, we want to make sure that we can take that conversation outside of this webinar and proceed with it further and make sure that you guys have what you need in order to make that a reality.
For
So
sure. Give you the 101 today and would love to follow up with you and go deeper into your specific situation. Because sometimes it's about diagnosing your problems and seeing how that we can help you out.
very true. Very, very true. I'm going to get this shared up for us then.
Yeah.
Let's see. Share my screen. Windows. Bada bing. Boom.
Boom. Hopefully, you guys see this beautiful slideshow here. We're going to be talking about agency growth, like we said, downline versus admin staff. And we went ahead and got into the growth immediately because if you're at this stage that we were looking at adding an admin or a downline, it's because you've got some kind of growing
Sure.
pains, right? A lot of the times when agents want to grow, they hit a point in their career where they say like, well, yeah, I want to do that, but I have no time to meet with anybody new, or like, yeah, that'd be super nice to add another person if I could get off the phone because all I'm doing is service work with carriers.
Right.
And it's like, well, I want to go get new business. I want to do these things. So the question isn't so much about like I said, if you're talking about hiring, it's not do I want to grow?
Right.
Clearly you do, but it's the who do I add first? The am I picking somebody just to get a downline because I heard about it on a Facebook group and then successful somebody else? Like, how are you coming to these decisions is really important.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's a lot of folks out there that too, that you may be in a stage of owning your agency where you need to shift away from being the primary writing agent or the primary producer for your agent and start putting on a different hat and being the agency owner. Like, we have so many conversations with agents about how different it is to be just a producing agent versus actually manning the helm, making sure you miss the icebergs, all of that type of stuff. Like, it is very different from just sitting down with the client and writing. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't continue to be a writing agent while you're like manning your ship of an agency, but it does take a very different type of mindset. And I think this is a good way for, if you feel as though that is something that is interesting to you because of either where you are at in your career, whether that's, hey, I need to start almost taking a different role or slowing down because I'm starting to plan retirement. Like, bringing someone in is just as important on what is it going to look like for
Yep.
this agency to outlive my time in the industry as well. So sometimes growth can look in multiple different ways. We hear that all the time. It's, how are you wanting to grow? Is it truly by policy holders? Is it by bringing on folks into your agency? Is your position growing to something that's different than what it's currently applying for or working within your setup?
For sure. And I definitely want to mention too, either way of what you're wanting to do is not wrong.
Correct.
It's just different goals. Do you want to say, I want to step away from writing business and help other people future their career, and
Correct.
what are they going to be doing next? Or is it like, I just want to help more people myself. I
Yeah.
want to do that. How do I give myself more time to pick that route?
100%.
So that's what we'll jump into mainly here today.
I know.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. And some people are trying to figure out, well, how do I know if I'm facing this growth problem? Generally, some people like to break down and use kind of their book of business as a gauge of when do I need to start thinking about adding people to my agency? And I would say from our experience, we see that between the 300 and 500 clients on your book of
Mhm.
business. Those are active policies, people that you are, pretty consistently trying to at least communicate with, go back and forth. I would say between those two numbers. Now you could stretch that maybe to six, seven, or 800 clients, but that's really put a lot of strain on your systems and,
Yeah.
and processes. If you've got a perfect, automated marketing tab, shout out Integrity Connect, or all these other pieces that are helping you manage, you could stretch that further. And honestly, I think a lot of agents have had to. They've had to
Yeah,
figure out how to stretch that further because it's a different conversation about bringing someone into an entity that you've created. It's, again, a very different hat that you have to wear at some point. But I wanted to make that abundantly clear. So if you're somewhere in between the 300 and 500, client range for yourself, no one is giving you a hand. I think it's really important for you to sit down in front of the mirror or in front of a notepad and just say, like, hey, where do I want to take this agency, and what's that going to look like? Because growth in hiring might actually be your next stage.
for sure. So we've kind of already alluded to it, but the main two ways people are looking at adding staff, right, are either by adding an agent or adding an admin person. So very, very different paths,
Yeah.
right, of what it takes off of your plate, what they're doing. But just as far as like what adding an agent will do for you is, with the proper systems that we'll get into here in a minute, it really builds that scalable system that you could start building out where not just bringing on one or two agents, but you can bring three, five, 10 agents in, excuse
Yeah.
me, if you have the proper systems in place.
Correct.
But we're talking about somebody who's looking at just adding number one. Okay, this is something that could build that ability to bring more applications into the office because now there's two producers,
Yeah.
right? Like now we got two of
Yeah.
us. Like
Exactly.
we can do more.
100%. I think what you guys will hear from us kind of going through as we kind of get into the nitty gritty of each, what it looks like to bring on an agent specifically versus bringing on an admin staff completely. We're going to use this as a realm as someone who is, a mom and pop shop type of agency. We're bringing someone either into our brick and mortar or how we're, setting that up. But I think it's also that this can look very different depending on what type of agency you're running, whether that is, some telesales at some point or trying to do telephonic enrollments. If you have a brick and mortar, if you're trying to set up a career agency, if you're trying to set up a brokerage yourself, there's a lot of different ways that this can go. And that's part of, the conversations that one you should be having with yourself. But also, if you're not sure which way you want to go, you should be sitting down with your upline and sitting down like, hey, I want to grow, but I'm not sure what my personal grow goals or desires align with kind of which path. So if that's a conversation that you need to have and want to piece some of that together, we'd be happy to sit down with you and talk about what options do you have in front of you. But I think with that being said, what we can talk about some of these differences between adding an agent, yeah, doubling the capacity of the sales, or is it mainly just, hey, I feel like I would be able to write more if my attention wasn't being drawn to somewhere else.
For sure. So Yeah, adding an agent, obviously. Okay, cool. Now there's two people writing business.
Yeah.
And that's the I want to take care of more people within my agency.
Mhm.
This is saying, okay, how am I going to see all those people going forward? So what you're doing with bringing in on an ad or an agent, sorry, is you're looking at a lot of different steps to get that person up to speed. Because we are going to think about more of this is a person that's never done Medicare, or has dabbled and wanting to get into this more. Versus if you're bringing on an established agent who sold Medicare, a lot of your problems are going to change here. A lot of the like, what are you signing up for?
Mhm.
But somebody brand new, you're going to be spending quite a bit of time up front on the training and getting them familiar with your systems, your processes, what is Medicare?
Yeah.
What's a Medicare Advantage? What's a Medicare supplement? What's all these things?
Yeah.
So you have to think of like, okay, like I have to put myself into like a teacher role
True.
with an agent, not just like I do with my clients.
Yeah.
Is a whole different set of skills and probably a lot of extra know-how that
Yeah.
an agent's going to need. As you guys know, you will know the insides and outs of parts A and B. And then you get to do a Medicare 101. You say, okay, forget all that. Like these couple things are important, but you don't really need to know all of these things. But the agent does, because if
Yes.
there's questions, you're going to need to be able to help them out and make them understand these things and how they work together.
And there's a part there that I want to really drive home of like sometimes the most important side in adding an additional agency, you know, this person is going to act as a extension of you or your agency. So if you've become a really, key part in your community and you bring someone on that does business very differently than
Mhm.
you, that is so important. Whether that's an experienced agent or not, you need to make sure that you're aligning with them on, that they're there to help someone, not there to just enroll a bunch of people, and making sure that they're willing to go above and beyond. Find the person that you would want your grandma or your mom and dad, depending on where you're at, to be taken care of by. Like, would you feel confident and comfortable with that type of conversation? And so I do think this is probably one of those situations where you feel that transition of hats the most because it's not more of what can I just hand off to someone and it get done in the background. It is truly how could I guide someone through what I've done in the years that I've been in this industry. That way I can almost duplicate myself just in someone that looks slightly different.
Right. That's exactly. So like when we're looking through these things too, you have to consider what are you providing this person?
Mm,
Because we're talking about training them and getting them up to speed, but also okay, now you've done that, or they're able to do that on different YouTube platforms and coming to FMOs that have these kind of training pieces. Like, what are you doing that sets them apart? Are you providing them tools? Like, are you giving them the same resources that you have? Are you bringing others into the agency? Like, do you have a more advanced CRM like an agency block?
yeah.
Are you giving them access to that and paying for these things? Are you paying for their cell phone if you're doing a lot of over the phone leads? Like, what are you giving them to work with you?
Yeah.
Because we all know, like, part of this is okay, well, how is this benefiting me? Like, yeah, there's extra revenue coming into the office if there's more applications being written,
Correct.
but how am I making it worth that person's time to work with me?
Yeah. And some people, it may just be your experience.
Yeah,
Yeah. If
could
you've
be a
been in
great mentor.
1,000%, I think not that there isn't anything wrong with having someone that you shoot ideas off of or a friend in the space or in the industry to bounce ideas off of. I think that's a great thing, but I think if you are truly trying to set up a contractual basis or someone that you're trying to help do something together, I think you have to answer that question of how not only is the agency benefiting, but a part of that is how am I benefiting my employees, my folks that I'm trying to take care of. And there's so many things that you could pull probably from Gary Vaynerchuk or something along those lines of how can you take, he's okay with doing X, Y, and Z because he has that core focus of the person at the end of the day. And I think that that is part of what you need to think about to this degree. And this probably is where I should have maybe mentioned it originally. Was like this is also really where you see differences on how you're setting up your agency. And so we're not going to touch on that here
Mm.
today, but there are a bunch of different ways to look at doing that. And I think you have to be able to answer what value am I providing? Have I figured out a secret sauce or a really good seminar program? Or how can I make sure that they're staying in front of people? What are you giving the agent that's signing on board with
Yeah.
you?
Do you have an overflowing referral source that you're like,
Exactly.
I just need somebody else to help me write these. I
Yeah.
can't physically write all these. I've got hand cramps going
Yeah.
on here.
I'm having to turn business away because my calendar is filled.
Exactly. And when Ben's talking about setting up the agency right, talking about contractually like a couple different paths that they could take. If this is the path you're going, give us a call. We can talk about that because the level of support or things you're offering them definitely changes depending on what path you take.
True.
And so just to kind of wrap up agent when we move on to admin is obviously agents are going to multiply results but later. It's going to be more time invested up front because it's definitely going to slow you down. I think Rachel Braymeyer has explained this a lot of different times. Is she's helped agencies from ground zero
Mhm.
to million bajillion dollar agencies.
Right.
As she said, it takes around I think it's 3 to 6 months to get somebody off their feet,
Mm.
and you can expect that first year that you'll probably take a loss in your revenue.
Correct.
But that's because you're okay taking that loss there because next year is going to be 1.25.
Correct.
The year after might be 1.5, and then you just start multiplying that and you watch your kind of production and revenue take off and go from there.
Yeah, I think, and this is also a really good spot too for kind of wrapping that up. We sometimes encourage hiring in batches too,
Yeah.
like taking a look and having a couple people. The truth of the nature and some of the most difficult part about being an agency owner is going to have to be making the right decision for your agency, and that may be firing someone that is no longer working for or alongside the agency structure that you've established, or it's going to be hiring on 3 agents knowing that maybe only one of them will actually work out.
Yeah.
So you've got to be comfortable with some of those harder conversations out there. So that's another little tidbit there of you may have a couple because there's some camaraderie. It's not anyone who came from like Greek life. Like you do pledges in batches of kiddos, knowing that some may not make it. And also like there's a lot of value in the agents or in this example of pledges kind of being able to communicate with one another and work through some of the problems together. That way, the overall result is a lot better. So, look at hiring maybe a couple at a time and knowing that you may only end up with one good one.
And something I didn't think about, Ben, that me and you do a lot is bounce each other like ideas off each other of like leadership and what we're doing with the people that we're working with.
Yeah.
I think that something we could offer out is that kind of experience of like what we've had managing people because it
Yeah.
is a much different world. Like we're both fairly new to managing people. We've been in the Medicare space, what, 5, 7 years,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range now, both of us. And we've had a lot of leadership books we've been listening to or reading, him reading, me listening to.
Words are hard.
And then podcast and just great mentors here
Yeah.
that have taught us a lot. That's another piece of information that I would personally love to share. I know Ben's very open about that, and this dude's a great leader, so he'll be able to help you guys out as well as figuring out how to manage and have those tougher conversations because I've had those with Ben
Yeah.
of like, okay, how do we do this? How do we talk about these things? So
Likewise, my friend.
another great resource is just this guy right here. So, all right, let's get into
Yeah.
admin
Yeah.
staff.
We've got an agent. Maybe that's not,
What are we doing with our hands?
I don't know. This is an agent where I'm holding an agent, and it's a very small
Aw.
agent, very small agent. And here, this is not what's going to get us where we want to go. So, what other options do we have? And that's bringing on an admin staff instead.
I just felt at some point you're gonna say if you're a peacock, you gotta let them fly.
I
Anyway,
I don't. I feel like they would have just fallen. They're not birds. Birds aren't real.
words aren't real.
Yeah.
Admin staff. Okay, so think about all the stuff a lot of you don't like doing, right?
I think you can even pause there for a second of like even just thinking today's basis. What did you do for clients that you didn't need to be licensed in order to do?
right is what you didn't need to be licensed to do or what didn't actually make me money today.
True.
Of all these different tasks, what can you take off of your plate and give to somebody else? What can you delegate away to, like it says here, free up time for selling of money making activities? It's a phrase that we throw out a lot of like, how can we help take away some of those things? Some of it is going to be able to be handled by your FMO, your upline. We're going to be able to handle some of those things. Some of them have to be done in office because it's a client calling you, or
Yes.
there's a service issue that only the client can talk with them. So you guys are gonna have to talk with the client with the carrier. So it's how can you improve that time or increase that time, decrease it, give it to somebody else.
Right, right, right.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't. There's only so much time.
Right.
You can delegate it though.
Yes.
You can give that time to or give that task to somebody else so you can keep writing business. This really improves. I said consistency. I think that's the wrong word. Attachments, consistency with the book of business.
Correct. I would
Staying with
love
my
to
agent.
help you.
I'll figure it. It's another C word.
Okay, I'll start searching.
But it's keeping that business on the books longer because then you're having somebody that's able to service them more times than you are available.
Not retention.
Not retention.
Okay.
Something to that syllable for
We'll
that.
get there. We'll get there. One of these days.
But what
Words
you're
are hard.
doing is being able to work with more clients while also offering that same level of service that you were able to provide to every single person you worked with. And now all of a sudden, that service person who was you is now an admin person who's more available to take those calls, to quickly reply to those emails, to shoot a text back to them saying, hey, at least we got your question. We'll work on this and get back to you. Those things are so important for clients to feel taken care of,
Yes.
that they say, okay, this agency's really got the time for me. They can handle all these things. Because if you're drowning and they're like, but I need my ID card.
Yeah.
I don't care that you need to go to this other appointment. I need to go to the doctor.
Correct. Yeah.
If you had somebody you could delegate that to, then they can take care of them. You could still write more business, and your agency has a much better feel to it.
We talk a lot about what does your client's life cycle look like with your agency. And if they came in to you based off of a referral and they sat down with you and your T65 appointment with them was, 40, 50 minutes or so, and you sat there and you guided them through A and B, you made some recommendations, you listened to their providers, their prescriptions, what they have going on in their life. You took really, really good care of them from their first, visit with you. Whether you liked it or not, that set the expectation for your next interaction with them. And if you are so bogged down and every 45-minute appointment is taking away and leaving people on red or keeping them in the inbox and keeping them unanswered, they don't get to see the behind the scenes of how many other people you're taking. And there's a whole other conversation to be had about, setting the expectations with clients. I know the cafe has talked about that a lot. We, as senior marketing specialists, have talked about that a lot. But here in this specific space, if nothing else, and I loved how Clayton put this, is like you can have someone that makes sure that the client feels heard.
Yeah.
That you physically cannot do that because you are the only person who can sign that application and put your NPN next to it. Not everyone can do that. Everyone has to have, to be a part of that process, there are requirements and expectations that you have to have met. Not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
But 95% of the people could call someone back and say, hey, thank you so much for giving us a call. Sorry we missed it. What question did you have? That way I could see about getting you an answer. It's no different than, I think a lot of agents had to learn a version of this with how prescription drug plans have kind of fallen out of our industry, is they had to set up a process that way their clients who had expected such great service on a plan that no longer pays them but still felt as though that the agent wasn't just casting them away. And I think
Right.
that's really, really important. And I think you see that as you grow with your book of business amount, that is a very real possibility that you're going to have certain clients that say, man, I liked it better how it used to be when
Mhm.
most people didn't, utilize you.
Right.
And that is like such a backhanded compliment of like, hey, you must be really good because you're growing, but like
You're
now
too busy for me.
you're not the same as it used to be. My dad talks about that as a veterinarian. He's the only veterinarian in his office, so he's the only one that can do certain things. Not everyone has those requirements, and so I think it's really, really important to think about that side too. Of okay, in the eyes of the clients, me bringing someone on who is answering phone calls, setting appointments, making sure that their prescriptions are up to date. Where you guys should all be sending out paperwork right now to get client prescriptions and pharmacies and providers to make sure come AEP, you've got updated information. Now, is that a best item for you to be doing
Does that
instead of
make you
meeting.
money today?
Exactly. It's probably not the truth of the nature, but could someone get slotted in to be able to do that as well?
For sure. I found the word. I had to look it up because it was driving me insane. It
Valid.
wasn't a C word. Persistency. It's
Ah,
persistency, not
gotcha.
consistency. So,
Basically the same thing though.
different things they can handle. We've kind of already touched on these, but we'll kind of go really fast. They can schedule those calls for you. They can take those incoming calls, do the follow-ups, make sure they got those ID cards, the different things that they're getting set up on like the different apps that a lot of the MA carriers utilize
Yeah.
these days. Data entry, very, very basic stuff. But again, think about all the time that all those little 5-10 minute tasks take you. You could hire a part-time admin person
Yeah.
that works 4 hours a day,
Correct.
and they could knock out some of these things for you, or they work a few days a week for you, and they could knock out some of these smaller tasks that really start to pile up
Yeah.
and take days off of your calendar that could be filled up with clients instead.
I'd really encourage agents right now. So as you're reviewing your sales process going into AEP, put a star next to things that you don't have to do, someone else could, and then figure out the system of if you guys are in a spot right now to hire, and see if you could just bring someone in part time that could do that fully 100% of the 20 hours that they are there and do enough of it in 20 hours that would feel as though how much you would have done in 40 at a percentage of your focus. And that's one question that I almost always get is, can an admin person help with, collecting some of this information? That way I could run the quote. The only thing that an admin person can't do is make a recommendation for plan. So they could run everything through, they could get that all added, they could actually quote it and then send that off to the agent and kind of make it see what that looks like and see what type of recommendation needs to make. The only thing that an admin person can't and shouldn't do is truly make a recommendation towards a plan, but they could collect everything in. There's some other things about, running an agency and having employees that you as an owner would have to do, make sure that, the fraud, waste, and abuse, all that type of stuff. But that's not the focus here today. That's another conversation. But, yes, an administration person can bring on that information. I had an agency visit, conversation this afternoon. I don't remember what time it was, but it was around noon, maybe in the morning, maybe not, around noon. And we sat down and talked about, hey, so this person's going to be sending out this. This person is not a licensed agent whatsoever, but they're sending out this letter. They're collecting in this information. They are setting up their other licensed agents for the best success and the most streamlined process to take care of their clients.
I like that task of like when you're looking through the AEP battle guide that you should be looking at
Correct.
is going through and saying like what are these tasks that don't need a license, which ones do.
Yeah.
Also another thing that if you're happy with like your level of success, and I say success basically like income or revenue that your agency's bringing in, look at like happiness.
True.
Where are you spending your time that's it doesn't fill your cup? This is not things that you want to be doing,
Yeah.
but have to be done. And can you bring in a person to do that? And that might help you decide, which will bring us to our next slide here of which path do I go?
Yeah.
Of if there's a bunch of check marks by like, hey, you don't need a license to do this. Maybe you're leaning admin person.
Yeah.
If they're all saying like, wait, I don't want to do any of these things that a writing agent really needs to be the one doing.
Yeah.
Your answer is going to be pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right. Of which path you need to go.
Yeah, so let's explore some of these differences and kind of put them side by side. So, we talked a lot about agents, talked a lot about admin specifically. So the real main difference here is agents are going to add revenue potential. They are increasing the capacity of your agency, whereas an admin is freeing up the current capacity. It's kind of like doing some spring cleaning. Like your house doesn't get any bigger when you go through and clean it. That's bringing on an admin. But if you add an extension to your house, you've got more square footage. You're bringing on an extra agent. I've done it again.
You blow my mind every time with these analogies.
I will always find one, and I don't even know it until halfway through. I'm like, wait, this is actually really good.
That's good.
I like this a lot.
I like that. And both are going to require training, but the difference between an agent and an admin is the speed, right? Basically the next two bullet points are very similar here. It's going to require training and a lot more for an agent, where an admin person is going to be a lot quicker to get them implemented and useful. I hate saying that because everyone's useful, but like helpful in your agency. Like they're not going to mess as much stuff up right out of the gate if you let an admin person run on day two versus an agent. You say, yeah, go ahead and run some appointments. You got this, my man.
I will be much more direct. Like, not everyone is useful. Like, that's okay. It's just a matter of how they're trying to be used. Someone who might succeed very heavily as an admin would probably stumble fail very heavily as an agent, and that's okay. So we either have to make sure that the people that we're hiring apply and fit with the role that we're trying to fill. One thing that came to mind, and I wanted to throw the real different, this on this slide as well, was when you're looking at people when you're hiring, that is a very, I mean, maybe you can speak to some of this as well. There's a lot of questions that are not just, are you licensed? What what do you want to get out of this role? Like, these are some basic level, managerial hiring questions. Ask them, what is your use case on technology?
Yeah.
I had an agency that I was working with recently that had hired someone, but we didn't maybe do like a typing test
Ooh.
to see how
Ooh.
fast they could type. And the main role they were trying to fill was an
Manager.
administrative assistant
Yeah.
that was updating CRMs, emailing people, yeah, going on the website and finding stuff within carrier portals. You know what that requires?
Good amount of
A
typing.
good amount of typing. So that's another thing that, and honestly, guys, as an agency owner, you're gonna mess up. Like, that's the truth of the nature. It's gonna be okay. Work with an upline to think about things that you hadn't thought about. That's
Yep.
why we do these webinars. That's why we're trying to come to you with some of this information. You wouldn't maybe have thought to put someone through a typing test before you hired them.
Yeah.
Like, that is such a minute detail, but it can have a lot of impact. So, having some, I wanted to throw that out there because there are a lot of other questions that you can be asking. How do you feel about people who might get upset with you on the phone? How would you tackle that adversity? Little things like that. Maybe that can tell you, would this person be a better agent or a better admin if you're in the opportunity of looking for both
Yeah.
roles.
And one great thing that we see a lot is you hire someone on to be an admin person and say, well, they mentioned like they like this and they want to be able to sell, but they're just like not super knowledgeable. They don't know a bunch about the industry yet, or maybe they don't know that they want to sell yet. But
Yeah,
then they get in that admin role and see what you do, and then it unlocks something in them and says, I want to do that.
yeah,
You can always pivot that person over to an agent
yes,
and have a new admin person because you just had a person that's seen how your agency is run day to day.
mhm,
They know what you do. Maybe they've even set in on a lot of your appointments. So they've had some of this behind the scenes training
yeah,
that would take a slower buildup of getting an agent. That you turn that admin into a licensed agent and they hit the ground running. And a lot of times we see great success with those. The client's already familiar with them. You can pencil them into your own book,
correct.
or they're hungry because they see the potential of what an agency owner would look like, or what having your own business like this really looks like, and
Yeah.
getting to work on your own schedule. And they say, I love everything about that aspect of this. I want to do that now.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's the peek behind the curtain, that you need before they
Mhm.
even decide that that would be something that would be super enjoyable to them. And also, people go through different stages of life.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
the spot where they are now, maybe they have really young kiddos and they can't be as aggressive in building something, but they could slot out 35 hours or 20 hours work from home, or however you want to, be flexible with an admin staff. They could do that now. Well, kiddos grow up, they
Yeah.
get a little older. They start going to school for a majority of the waking hours. I know this is hitting you a little extra heavy. I don't have kiddos yet. I just have chickens, and one of them has one eye. So then he's not going anywhere except for in a circle. So any of that, like, but their different stage of life could change them into being, hey, an admin is all that I could do right now. But now, hey, things have freed up.
Yeah.
I want to be a little bit more aggressive. I'd like to see if I could take on a licensed position and see if I could try to take over. Maybe my first role is all I'm doing is tying ancillary products to your core products that you're doing. There's so many other ways that you could take some of that as well.
For sure. So when we're looking at this of like when do we choose which one? Um, you gotta like this is the sit down and think part. Like
Yeah.
you just gotta slow down and think, what do I need? We've mentioned this a lot, but the admin person, if you're still handling all of your non money making activities, but your calendar's not full, like okay, how which of these do you want to fix that like calendar not full problem? Okay, you can't be spending all your time not making money doing these service issues. So you really got to start putting that in.
Yeah.
And the main thing I think Ben and I hear, especially when you start hitting that 500 plus clients, is I'm just really overwhelmed with the amount of clients I have currently that I can't go get anybody new because every year I'm moving people's MA plans around, or I'm just stuck servicing um, their PDPs, or I'm stuck with all these different issues that come up with their plan throughout the year that, like, I don't know how I'm gonna find the time
Right.
to see more people. I have office hours of like this. I don't even write business on Tuesday and Thursday because I can't. I have this work to do.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe we need to hire somebody for Tuesday and Thursdays, and they come in and do that for you. Then.
Yeah. Or could you get twice as much done with a second pair of hands on Tuesdays and Thursdays? That way you could actually get caught up instead of just staying afloat.
For sure.
That admin first is helping, keeping you from drowning. That's the life jacket that you're throwing on before you can really piece a lot of these other things together. And then moving on to that, like, when do you need to look at adding a full scale agent? Is if, hey, you've really built something that's either unique or is growing very rapidly, and you see the opportunity, but you're unable to attain it because you either don't have the time or you don't have the capacity. Like,
Yeah.
you just can't. When would I meet with them? Not to mention
I
another
already
part.
worked 80 hours a week. What do you want from me, Ben?
Exactly. And I think another part about this too that we didn't really even get into is like bringing on another agent to seize more opportunity is going to come with more service work.
Yep.
So I
At a
mean,
certain point, now there's double as much service work because you have twice as many clients. And
yeah,
you say, "Oh no."
exactly. Like, man, I couldn't even keep up with the amount of stuff that I was doing for the current amount of clients, let alone all of the new agents or new clients that I'm trying to bring in from this new opportunity. I think that's another thing is that, looking at there was something that was said to me a while ago, and it's maybe an agent who's listening in today, and if so, I hope you're doing well. That they outlined to me there's two ways to look at your business, and there's a way that you need to split your time in half. Half the time you need to be working in and for your business.
Mm,
The other half the time you need to be working on your business.
right.
If you're an individual and you have an agency or you're having your book of business and you're trying to figure out what that looks like, yes, you need to spend a lot of your time making sure that appointments are being had, clients are being answered, you're working for your business, keeping it running. But in order to reach these next stages of growth, of opportunity, of conversations about how do I, make more money when I go to leave this space, when I sell off my block of business, whatever it may be, you have to work on your business. If you're not working on your business, I promise you, you may not see it on a day-to-day business or day-to-day basis, but when you look back and step back from your business and look at it from like a 6 month or a 12-month period, you'll see how much it negatively impacted because you become stagnant and you started losing things that you weren't even aware that you were losing.
Beautifully said. I think I know what agent you're talking about. Hope the motorcycle's going all right. All right, guys. I think that wraps up pretty much everything that we've got today. We'll hang around for a couple more minutes here and switch over to some questions. Um, oh, I'm gonna think we did. I think Ben got closer to the mic. I hope we're
I was
loud enough
trying
there.
to.
um, compliance needed for having and adding people. So yeah, there are levels of compliance that you're going to need to do if you're adding any kind of staff member.
Yeah.
Those things are a little bit more specific to what their title or what tasks are, and to kind of double check yourself of what they're doing. Ben mentioned the fraud, waste, and abuse. There is one other check you have to
Starts
do.
with an O. I can't remember what it
It's not
is.
an OSHA check. That's like for
I think
warehouses.
I think that's make sure you're wearing your hard hat. I think.
But yes, there are some things we can pull that up for you. If you got a more specific question, we can dive into that with you.
And how I also took compliance too is like errors and omissions. If you're bringing on an
Yes,
agent for your agency, they are going to be acting uh,
as you.
as you as an extension of your company. You need to make sure that the agency is protected for potential mistakes that could happen. You know that is possible, whether that is an agreement that you have with that agent that they need to cover themselves because of how they're contracted, or if you as an agent or slash agency, want to bring on and actually cover the agency as a whole and cover E&O for all of your downlines, maybe that's part of the value that you bring to an agent that is getting set up with you. They don't have to cover E&O insurance as an agent. So these are some of those conversations. I would not limit. How do I want to say this? I would not stunt your growth into trying to figure out where the agency needs to go because you're afraid of compliantly doing so, simply because a lot of the compliance around adding a person is not really as scary as you think it is.
Yeah.
You just need to be guided through it.
Few check
Um,
boxes.
and really, that's what Clayton and our role is made to have those types of conversations. Believe it or not, we've helped a lot of agents that were individuals become corporations, individuals that are now bringing on extra people. And it's really funny for them to be like, man, I never would have thought that I'd be able to take a Saturday off because I know that my agency is running just fine. And the amount of time I get to now spend with my kiddos
Yeah.
or my significant other or my spouse and be able to enjoy some of that time. So I love the part that you mentioned of like, hey, where does your heart want to be as well as where does your head want to be? Because that is really important because you need both of them to run an agency.
For
That's
sure.
very, very true.
Got a question about pay for a part-time admin. It's so specific and to your like area and what's competitive for just like honestly like the work that they're doing because there's different levels like if they're just doing data entry versus they're calling carriers and doing specific service issues for your clientele.
Yeah.
So comes down to their job title. Be happy to have that conversation with you though. So we got your name here on the back end. We'll reach out and kind of dive into that deeper with you.
I think just something that I would explore too, and I've had some success with agencies exploring this, is reach out to a local school or community college and see if they offer any internship opportunities that maybe them coming on as a part-time person for your business could qualify for internship hours that they may need for their courses. We've seen that happen internally for our company as a field marketing organization, but that can, and I have seen and heard that work for agencies as well, because you get to see some behind that curtain. I mean, I could put a quick idea together if you're doing part time and not covering benefits. I mean, take a look at your minimum wage around you. I mean, if you're truly trying to bring someone in, you got to make sure that whatever you were offering, if they could get so much better by going to either a local mom and pop fast food restaurant or a restaurant in general, just kind of make it make sense. And I love the point Clayton made. It depends on the responsibilities that you have them going over. There's a really good blog post. We'll try to make sure it goes out in the follow-up email from this webinar that talks about what could a part-time person be doing for you. We touched on the high level stuff here in the webinar, but the blog post really goes over some really good details of what that person could be doing. I would build the role and position first, and then dictate one, how valuable is this role to me and the agency? And two, what type of jobs do I want to put that in line with in my community or in my area and pay accordingly to that? Hopefully that answers your question a little bit more and not just kind of like look at your area. That those are some of the things that
Yeah.
I think about when we sit down and have conversations of like, you need to make sure that the money makes sense. Like this will be an expense, it will be a cost. Well, we got to make sure that you see and feel a lot of the benefit that comes from that cost. So hopefully that answers your
Yeah.
question. Really good
Yeah, because like
conversation and question to ask.
you do want to pay them enough that they stay around,
Correct. Yeah.
but you don't want like, and also like pay for the person that you're getting.
Mm.
I'll say too, because not all of them are built the same.
Correct.
Somebody might be doing a little bit too much prime shopping one day, and you say, okay, they're not worth the $40 an hour that I wanted to pay
Yeah.
someone because I feel that that would make me have. I'm just throwing out crazy numbers, but
Right.
I was saying like you could see kind of their work, so like starting at a base and then adding money to it,
Yeah.
or a lot of agents also do like, hey, if you can schedule me X amount of appointments extra
Yeah.
for ancillary products, I'll throw you a bonus on top of those.
1000%.
So lots of different ways to make it work.
the,
So
the beauty of bringing someone into your agency is you do have a lot of flexibility on what pay can look like, and sometimes having the opportunity for them to make as much as they want to make gives you both a very hungry person who's going to maybe do more for you and get you the most bang out of that buck, as well as give them an opportunity to truly maybe turn this into a career. Maybe that part-time admin be asked to go full-time because they love it. And when you go to full-time, maybe you change pay. And maybe because they love it so much from that part, then you switch into them. Okay, now we're going to make you a licensed agent. I will pay for you to get your license. I will pay. I had an agency that I was working with that gave them like a full week off paid to go study, go take the test and pass it. And as long as they passed it, there weren't going to be any issues. Now, if I gave someone a week pay off and they didn't study and didn't pass for the test that I may have been paying for, we might be having a different conversations, or what you told me you wanted maybe wasn't really what you wanted.
For sure.
So lots of different ways you can take that. We'd be happy to break it down with you, dancing wise and questions and answers wise.
You didn't time it right.
I didn't have the camera to look at which way you were going, so I just went with
Just went with the flow.
Just two tidal waves crashing into each other.
Well, guys, I don't see any other questions, so we will sign off here. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us on the number listed there. That's 800-689-2800. You can also catch us on live chat on our website there as well. Email us, call us, do whatever you got to do to get in touch with us. We'd be happy to help you guys out with the next step of your agency, no matter what that looks like. If it's an admin, if it's a downline, if it's I am not going to do either of those things, Clayton, but I want more help. Let me figure out how to get you some more help.
I think another thing that I'm going to leave you with as well is, just because you don't see growth opportunities right now in front of you, there are a lot of different ways to grow your agency and a lot of ways to grow your business. We work with a lot of agencies right now that are either wanting to leave the space, or Medicare is not what it used to be. And I think everyone on here is probably feeling some of that.
Yeah.
And if it's time to leave, then that's okay. But there's going to be people that if they're leaving, those clients still need an agent to be able to take care of them. So maybe you look at growth via acquisition and bringing on someone, and maybe they want to, maybe the part that was really scary to them about staying in Medicare was being the boss and being the owner, but would maybe
I just want to ride business.
Yeah,
man.
just let me not think about all of the expenses and the cost, and if I'm making enough income, just let me know that I can make this much if I do X, Y, and Z, and I can just show up and do that and be very, very happy. That person who may have not made it as an individual and an agency owner themselves may absolutely crush it as a downline agent for your agency. And I'd love you guys for be able to be able to find someone of that nature, because I think they're out there. Not only do you get to bring on their book of business as your own and be able to support them and put them through a system that you know can work, but you also bring on someone that they already have trust with. So now you get to build off of that trust as well. And if that is something that sounds super interesting, please, please, please reach out to us. We would love to have that conversation. I guarantee you know somebody who's leaving the industry.
Yeah.
And if you already know them and work with them, then honestly, maybe they'd be a really good partner in your business already. So.
All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate your time today. We will get you back out there. Please come give us a holler, however that might look. Catch Ben and I on Medicare Cafe on Tuesdays.
Yep, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Usually,
Santa's coming. Santa. 10 a.m. It's from Buddy the Elf, the movie. Someone please school him up on.
I know what you're talking. It is June.
Well,
half Christmas. Never mind.
Half Christmas.
I appreciate
Today
it.
is half Christmas.
Is it really?
June 25th?
June. Okay. You guys have a great day. We're going to go be silly out there now. Thank you all.
Take it easy, guys. Have a good one.